Hello everybody, just getting all set up here. So hey, how's everyone doing? Happy Halloween to all of you. So I thought today would be the day of silhouettes. Anyway, sorry. So I'm happy to talk to you today because today is about something that is right close to home, because I build and create and think up ideas all the time, and I'm not perfect, and I obviously am not the most influential of the D&D community, definitely nowhere near that. There's people like Nerdarchy and ASDF D&D. I think that's his name. Really great guy. There's so many good people out there to listen to, so definitely go and watch them. But today I'm talking about something that I personally love and has spent a lot of time doing, so I figure if there's anyone that can share something with you, it's me. Also, I am going to be linking some things down in the description and possibly in the comments depending on what goes on. But there are some things that I've been working on that I want to share with you. So without further ado, and since we're just getting some people on, I'm going to start talking about homebrew world creation. Now, when you're creating a homebrew world, it's really easy to forget certain steps. I always start personally with the Pantheon, and if you're not sure what a Pantheon is, it's the homebrew gods. Also, you can have that in your normal game, but typically the world was created by gods. Hello! I love your profile picture. It's like the old Batman. It's so cool. So yeah, it's kind of easy for us to do. We start creating the world of gods because everyone looks at societies, and you see a lot of people that have like different cultures. They have a god or gods. In this case, I always create multiple gods because the normal D&D universe has lots of gods, and if you do lots of gods, it helps move things along when it comes to stories. There's always like different cults of different gods, lesser gods. And so starting your homebrew out that way, when you're creating the whole world of it, that's where I begin. Next, I start going into kind of the history of the world. What created it? What shaped it? Because it's really easy for you to just jump right in. And I think your name was Trek. I'm sorry if I didn't get the rest of your name. Have you created a world before? I want to make sure we're talking to the people that are on here. Also, obviously, if you are on after the live, please comment below and I can talk to you afterwards. I'm very diligent about doing that. And there's strange clicking sound in my vent. Anyway, so that's me. So I start number one with that. Not yet? That's fine. This is a good chance for you to kind of pick up. And if you have any questions about what I do or what a lot of D&D people do, because it's not just me, because I am not the know-it-all, I just have a lot of free time on my hands. Anyway, so I start with world building with like the gods. Next, I move on to history. Now you want a deep history because when you add a deep history, that makes you have the ability to put in magical items, quests in tombs, because dungeons typically are in tombs or in old castles or in broken down, shambled areas that are just that have been a part of some major war or some past necromancer lives in it, a lich. You know what I mean? You gotta have a history, and I'm not talking write a history book. I'm talking get like 15 to 20 ideas out there, and maybe 5 ideas per town and city. That way, when your characters run into this place, because sometimes they go in the opposite direction, we've all been there, as players or as DMs, you want to kind of have some leeway when it comes to, hey, I want to go explore this town. You won't be sitting there with your foot in your mouth thinking, oh crap, I really should have done something here. Create typically 10 NPCs and maybe 5 quest options, but have every city and their name have something to do with something nearby, so it can remind you of it. Google Docs is great for that, having it all up, and you can just easily just poke one of the cities and if they're in that area. Anyway, so I go with history next because I feel like that's very important for you to know of each world that you're creating. Like I said, you don't have to go these huge books, but I mean, I'm kind of crazy, and I'm creating one right now. So if you're kind of not the creative type and you just want to get thrown into a world that's kind of different from the typical D&D universe and some others that have been made and not overdone, because they're definitely well constructed, I'm creating one right now. I'm going to put the link in the description. It'll go to my Patreon but I'm letting everyone have free reign of it. You can go ahead and comment on it, talk about it, whatever. But I kind of want to create this world with you. I've already created the world for my players. It's been running for about, I want to say, a year and a half. And they've loved it. And they're coming to the end of their campaign that they've created, by the way. Because I had this history, I had the gods, I had the idea, and I had a character. And I just said, this guy's now going to be bad. And we'll talk about that too. But yeah, okay, so after that, by the way, I don't have notes. I just kind of peer off somewhere because I'm thinking. Apparently my brain thinks that down there helps me retrieve memories. Yeah, so the next thing I want to talk about is how after you have your history, your gods, try putting factions in there. Because how fun is it? Now, tell me if I'm wrong on this. Have you ever played Skyrim or Elder Scrolls? Or even any, like World of Warcraft, things like that? They'll have factions, and for me, I don't know about you, factions is one of my favorite things ever because you can go to a place and feel like you're belonging to something, but it's like a place to get quests, but feel like you're part of something a little bit more. So currently, I'm writing factions into the world. I have 2 already completed, and you'll be able to see that in the link afterwards. But it's really fun because I like having a group that you can go to. For instance, the first one I have is the Eldari, and they're like this ancient society that kind of shapes the world as it grows, and if tyrants arise, they kind of bring them down, and they themselves become kind of tyrants, but you can join the guild and you can kind of work your way up. But once you're in that guild, there is no leaving it. They will be very upset if you do. And then I have another one that's kind of dedicated to like the god of shadow and death, and they're not like necessarily bad or inherently evil. They just kind of lean towards that side. So if you have these different factions, they can be from like various spectrums. They can be gods of the forest. A good way to look this up is go to the DM manual, the DM Dungeon Master's Guide. There is a whole section on factions, and it's fun to have these because they really help the society seem real. Because if they belong to something, say one city favors another, they have different banners and sigils, and there's different rich people about, and there's different NPCs that are so like influential with it, and whereas some people are totally against it in that town, maybe trying to destroy it, it creates a lot of like a living, breathing society, which is really what you want when you go into any D&D world, is because, I mean, not just D&D, any tabletop. If you don't play D&D, that's fine. But personally, that's my favorite. Something to give players more connections. Nice. Got to start thinking about factions then. Dustin, it's very true. And the reason why, and the whole thing about that is it does create breathing world, because when you go into any city in the United States or in the world, there's different people and companies vying for your attention. When I say soda, 9 times out of 10, someone's going to say Coke or Pepsi, because they've put that in your head so much, it just kind of, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but that's literally how marketing works. They've done so much, one or the other, in different places, that some cities prefer Pepsi, others prefer Coke. I'm from a place that prefers Coke. So what you want to do is, with these different factions, is sometimes put it out there that, like on these trade boards or on these, what are they called? Like listing posts where you get quests from. Have like 3 or 4 things from like one quest, and like one little like scratched off, don't bother with this one, like someone's vandalized their post. It's fun to create these even rivalries between factions, because then you get into these, anyone play The Witcher? Witcher 3? One of my favorite games, because it creates these like hard options. So when you're creating quests around these different factions, it's a lot of fun, because you can kind of have one intersecting in the middle, saying maybe some heroes from another town are trying to complete this quest, and you're trying to complete the quest, and you butt heads. It creates this whole like moral dilemma. Should we just leave? Should we kill them? Should we, you know, like find a way to solve it together amicably? It creates so much potential to have factions. So spend the time doing it. I am going to post, like I said before, if you're just joining, in the comments or in the description what I'm working on currently, and you can kind of use my world. It's going to be in my Patreon, but I'm not saying you have to pay me for anything. If you want to tip me, that's fine. I'm not going to say no to that. A burger, I love to eat. But here's the thing. When you're creating your world, next I want to talk about maps. It seems like I have notes right here. I don't. I'm literally looking at a mess. I'm cleaning up my office. You see that? Yeah, so I just look off the screen. but creating the world. Now, you can go the paid route. You can go to these, you can always look up how to make maps, and they'll have tons of programs, softwares that you can use, and I'm not endorsed by any of them, and I'm not paid to say this, but my favorite one to use is Inkarate. It's spelled with the K. I will link it below. It's Inkarate, spelling test. They are amazing, and it's free. It's a beta, I believe it's a beta, and it's a free to use. You just have to sign up. All you have to do is put in your email address. They don't bother you. I don't get spammed. I don't get any problems with them. What's fun about them is that you can easily create maps, and they're diverse, and you can also put some of your own images of, like, say you don't like the towns that they have selected, you can put them in there. Yes, love Inkarate, already using it. Okay, then you know what I'm talking about. See, I used old school Inkarate when they first got it, and I kind of like the icons before because it made everything seem smaller. Now it's a little bit more like zoomed in, and I feel like it's less detailed, but I still love it for world creation because my mind just goes wild. And if you're not the creative type, designing type, please try checking it out, and maybe check out some maps that have already been made, give you some ideas before. That's what I'm doing right now. I've made several worlds and played around with them. My world is so big right now because they've played for about a year and a half, and they've gone to like 3 continents already. So anyway, so that's kind of the nutshell of Homebrews when it comes to the worlds. Of course, you're going to I could go into greater detail about quests and like in-depth histories of each. I would say make lots of NPCs. That would be a big thing. Make maybe 10 NPCs, like I said before, maybe 10 NPCs per city, and like major organizations, make sure you have a few that are like in-depth. And what I mean by in-depth is make them believable. Don't make a merchant just yes, come buy my wares. Maybe Chaotic Shiny is another one. I'll link that as well. I love using them because I believe it was Chaotic Shiny. They have a generator for like merchants or NPCs, and a lot of times they'll be like, this merchant particularly is surly, he's not in a good mood, and you show up to him and he doesn't want to haggle, so if you haggle with him, he'll just tell you to get out. It makes the world more interesting when you have NPCs that are dynamic and interesting. That's what I believe. Some of you may not agree. If you don't, go ahead and tell me in the comments. If you do agree, then go ahead and tell me as well, because I like to talk to you. This isn't just, it's Bard's time to talk to you about such and such. Also, I should mention I do music. If you haven't seen my channel, I do mostly music for players. I should mention that is one of my favorite things to do. I listen to music all day, and I love nerdy stuff, so I will create songs for players. And if I haven't created one for you, I think Dustin's the one online that's talking to me right now. If you need a character that needs music, I'll do it for free. I like to do it. I will write your character a song. I'm not talking to you specifically right now, but I mean, like, if you feel like a player or character deserves a song, or there's a certain story that's coming up that you want a music for, I do that all the time. So some of you may not know that because this live is all over public. Anywho, that's it for today, and as I always say at the end of my videos, may your rolls always be natural ones, like the name of the channel. Just not natural ones, because those are just terrible. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm going to start doing lives 2 times a week. So I've gotten quite a bit of push from this, and I really enjoyed that. Dustin, thank you for your time. Thanks for joining. Please, we're going to be doing Saturdays, I believe. It's tentative. Yeah, thank you, Trek, for joining us. So I believe it's going to be Saturday. It's going to be in the evening, so I can get some of the more night owls, because I don't sleep. I get maybe 4 or 5 hours, and I've done that for like 2 years, and I'm fine with it. So some people can handle it, some people don't. I don't like sleeping. I think it's a tremendous waste of time, and yet I'm lazy and creative. I don't get it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining. I will let you know probably Saturdays at, I want to say 7, 8-ish, somewhere between there, Mountain Standard Time. So please join us then. We'll be talking about who knows. I always decide the day of, and sometimes I think I'm going to talk about an orc one-off, evil campaigns. Those are a lot of fun. Since it's Halloween, go do something fun and eat some candy for me. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.